Hey guys, I'm so excited for today's video. These quads almost did not make it to my house, but here they are. I have them. I'm so excited to share these with you, to do a review and demo. These are the new Tom Ford quads in metallic denim and rose prism. For some reason, these were initially released on Nordstrom, and for some reason, on the website, they listed these as totally different names. So this was listed as Ethereal Blue, and this is Pop Dust. I believe at the time of filming, they're still mislabeled on the site. However, the pictures attached to those mislabeled names are correct. So I will have links below to these quads if you're interested, but just so you know, the names won't match up, but what you'll get is truly, depending on what you pick, is truly going to be the new quads. So I'm going to, like we usually do, swatch these. I'll look at other Tom Ford quads in my collection that I might be able to pull some similarities, although I can say right off the bat, I don't have anything within Tom Ford in my collection that is similar to this metallic denim. And even for Rose Prism, maybe one shade, maybe this shade here that I think is not going to be a dupe, but perhaps some similarities. And I do like these color stories because I just haven't, at least recently, I have not seen these or similar color stories to appear within other Tom Ford quads. So I'm actually going to use both of the quads today, create a look, one on each eye, so you guys can compare if you're trying to decide between these two quads, getting one of them. So let's move on to the swatches. I'm going to start with the lighter of the two, which is Rose Prism. And it's quite light and pretty. This shade here I thought might appear a bit more peachy, but it's actually just, you know, a light shimmery highlight type shade. I do like this pink here that is quite cool and has kind of like maybe a white powdery like base to it that still swatches really nicely. And then, you know, for me, my skin tone, I'm probably end up gonna use this shade a lot to anchor the look and then add all these other ones on top to kind of complement it, give it a bit more interest. And then for metallic denim, really pretty. I feel like it's gonna match my dress today, which is like a denim dress. This actually reminds me a little bit of the quint from Dior called Denim. So I'm actually going to pull that quint out to compare at the end. Why don't we go ahead and put some of these shades on the lids. Starting with the shade here, I am placing that generously all over the lids. And I'm adding this shade here onto the upper lash line. Taking the deepest shade here, I'm just going to deepen the outer corners. And then going to this glittery lighter shade, I'm placing that onto the crease and to buff out any seams. Because these are Tom Ford's wet dry formula, I am curious to see how some of these would look when I add water to it. So I'm going to wet the brush, and this is undyed goat hair from Sonia G's Lotus set, and I'm going to then dip back into the pan and try to pack on more of this blue shade. Wow, you guys see the difference there? There it is. And then I'm very curious to see what this looks like with some water activation. So I'm also going to wet a different brush here, and we're going to go back in to that shade. This is really intense. I'm just gonna go along with it. Go back into the shade here and just buff things out a bit more. Okay, so there is one eye completed, and this is, again, much deeper, much more smoky than I had intended to be. I'm going to go into the left eye with Rose Prism, and then we'll see about doing anything under the eyes. I'm going to think about it. For Rose Prism, I'd actually like to wet my brush and dip into the shade here. I think it's a very pretty peachy shade that I might be able to get more intensity out of. So I'm actually gonna pack the shade onto the lid. I think this is really, really pretty. So different from Metallic Denim. Such a pretty peachy shade. Then I'm gonna go into this shade here, and we're just adding some dimension. And then we're going to go into this shade and add that right here, covering the inner corners and then upwards into the crease. Then we're taking this really glittery shade and just adding that onto the brow bone. For under the eyes, I'd like to go back into this shade here and place some color on the lower lash line. And for the other side with Metallic Denim, I'm actually going to add some of this, which is the Sparkly Shimmer shade, just onto the center to brighten things up. Because as it stands right now, it does look like this blue is sort of blending right into the shade here, and then even this deeper shade. So I do want to just give it more dimension. And for under the eyes, I'm going to go back into this brownish gray shade and just kind of line under the eyes. We're also going to dip into this blue shade here again, and more tight lining. So we've got two really different looks on each side of the eye. I'm gonna use two different blushes today. On the right side, I'm using Merit Beauty's Terracotta Cheek Shade. And then on the left side, I'm using Chantecaille's Cheek Gelée Blush, and this is in the shade Lively. I think it's a good match for the peachy eyeshadow. And for highlighter, I'm going to try the same shade, Golden Glow from Dior, on both sides. I'm hoping it's gonna work. For lips, I'm taking Burberry's Kisses in Bright Plum. I forget with these Burberry Kisses lipstick how, while they have a satin finish, they are fairly comfortable. They feel creamy on the lips. They just don't glide on with the same ease as like a Chanel satin lipstick or Dior. And I think it has to do with that long-lasting factor of this formulation. So because of this shade, I thought likely I'm gonna make a little bit of a mess, go out of lines, but because the formulation's not very slick, I was able to just, with the bullet, follow along the natural shape of my lips, and I had to do just very, very little cleanup. So yeah, I forget about these lipstick. I just haven't grabbed for them recently because, I mean, they are scented. I can still smell them. They'll dissipate, you know, in due time. So, but I really actually do like that satin, long-lasting creaminess that doesn't mean it's very slick. And because of that, it tends to stay within the lines of your lips better, even as you eat and drink. So this is the finished look, and I'm just not used to seeing a different eye look on each eye. It's been a while since I've done a video like that. Like usually I like to separate one of the quints, one of the quads, and do another dedicated video, but I didn't want to wait any further because there's some other content I have planned, and I feel like if we wait, it's going to get pushed further and further. So I wanted to include both in today's video. First impressions with the two quints. I like both of the color stories. I think I'm going to gravitate towards Rose Prism more, just because the colors are easier to wear. For me today, I focus a lot on the shade here, but I can see myself using this shade. Kind of like all over the lids, and then add in some lighter or dimensions using the shade here, and maybe putting that into the inner corner just to switch it up. I really do appreciate this glitter shade though. Inner corner highlight, brow bone highlight, or just kind of put it onto the center. So overall, I do like this one a lot because of the shade, and I know I'll be grabbing for it because it's just easier to wear and very wearable during the day. Metallic denim, I like it too, but I gotta think and try harder when I'm putting together the look. As you can see, as I was playing around and wanted to layer on more colors, it got very smoky and dramatic very quickly. And with one of these color stories, I think it's challenging to stay on the, you know, lighter wearable daytime type of looks. I feel like the inspiration behind it, the intention, I mean, look how sparkly this black is. It is for you to really get a smoky look and very stand out. If not for wetting this shade here just to see what we could get out of it, it'd probably look a little less intense, because once I added the water, got it onto the brush, I felt like I was instantly adding like 2 additional layers with every swipe. So there is that to keep in mind too, but I think it looks really, really beautiful. The shade with some water just brightens it up immediately. Like it doesn't even look like it's the same shade as in the pan, because this is a bit subdued, you know, there's like a bit of a gunmetal metallic feel to the whole thing, including this blue here, but it really brightens it up once you add water. The next part I would like to compare against Denim from Dior. I'm very curious. So this is Denim from Dior, and I feel like this shade here is a cross between these two. So I'll swatch them both. And let me go back into Tom Ford and add another application here. I feel like I might have wiped some of it off when I was like moving my arm around. Yeah, I think it's similar to this shade here, although in terms of intensity, Dior's is more intense. And then once you add water, I feel like once you add water, the level of intensity does start to match the one from Dior. The two shades are quite a bit different from each other. I don't know if you can see it too clearly because they're both reflective and have shift in them. This is lighter and has a bit more, I would say, green in it, whereas this is has like a gray, almost like a gray gunmetal undertone to it. So those are the comparisons. And then for Rose Prism, I'm looking at First Frost. This was released last year as part of their holiday collection, and I want to compare this shade against this shade from First Frost. So this is from Rose Prism. This is First Frost. Totally different, much, much deeper. And then from Honeymoon, I'm curious about this shade here and how it compares to Rose Prism. So, swatching this right here. This does have some red or plummy purple undertone to it, but again, it's much deeper than this here. I think this quad overall, while it has a wet-dry formulation, I think it's just lighter in its payoff and its finish. Still pretty, but kind of in a different space all on its own compared to the other quads I have. I guess you can say some similarities to First Frost, at least with the lighter shades. But yeah, it is a little bit different from anything I have. Not just the colors, but just the payoff and pigmentation, basically. There's my review and demo of the two new Tom Ford quads. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of these quads. I actually have not purchased any Tom Ford quads this year except for these two. So that's why I was so excited to receive them. And I am really, really looking forward to their new Soleil Neige collection, which they teased way earlier this year, like early spring. And I thought by now, summertime we would have seen them, but I guess not. So maybe well, I think they're designed for fall, so hopefully we see them then. And from what I can tell, there are at least 3 different quads from that collection. I want to say there's even 5, but confidently from that teaser, I could identify 3. So really looking forward to those. They look to be also wet-dry formulas. But anyways, I'm glad I picked these 2 up. I don't have anything quite like them in my collection, even when I look at Dior, Suku, Chanel, and of course other Tom Ford quads that I have. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. And if you're new to the channel, welcome, good to have you. Consider giving this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notified every time new content is released. I review a lot of luxury makeup, luxury skincare occasionally, and luxury makeup brushes. See you very soon. Bye.